Hello. We're going to talk about in this video about an operator, instance of, and a method, getClass. And both of these are useful, very useful in determining the data type of polymorphic reference. So instance of first is a Boolean operator. It's an operator. It's not a method. It's an operator. And we use it to test whether an object is an instance of the specified type. In other words, we use it to test the reference variable to see what type it is. So here's an example of name, which is a string. The question is name an instance of string? Yes, it is. So that returns true. Is name an instance of object? Well, yes, because string inherits from object. Everything does in Java. So what we often use instance of for is in a more complete equals method. In general, up till now, we have just done the bottom line, this part down here, to check. We assume that V in this example is a vehicle type. And that's probably not a bad assumption, but in general, if we're writing an equals method for a vehicle type in general, we want to use this construct instead, where we check the equals method against any general object and then check to see if V, the reference variable, is an instance of vehicle. If it is, if it's not, we immediately know that it's not going to be equal to the vehicle type that's being checked, and so we return false. Otherwise, and the otherwise part is where we put what we think causes two vehicles to be equal. Now, getClass, on the other hand, is a method. So it's a method of the object class. It's one of the dozen or so methods in object. And it returns the class of the object instance. So we've got the instance of checks out the reference variable, the reference type, variable type, and getClass checks the right-hand side of the expression, checks the actual object instance. So suppose we have I, which is an integer, and C, which is a class. If the getClass of the integer is C, C is a class. So what getClass returns is an instance of class, the class name, which is the actual long version of the class. So if we see what C is, get name from getClass, we see that it's java.lang.integer. So how does it get used? Well, suppose we have three objects, and they're all object types. And objects of 0 is an integer with the number 3 in it. Object number 2 is a string with string 3 in it. And then when we go to getClass for the object sub 0, object sub 1, we get the integer and the string. Now if we getClass on the overall array, we get an object, because that's the first level that it can be found. It's an object. Is the getClass of the 0th element the same as the get class of the first element? No, it's not. So it returns false. By the way, both of these instance of values return true because they both are instance of object. So that's instance of an operator and get class, which determines the actual runtime class, which is determined by the Java virtual machine.